is there a pretty high barrier to entry to actually get into franchising? Or if someone was starting out today, like what all would they need to get started?
Some franchises are much more successful in some areas than others. So you really would never, ever, I would never suggest just doing it on your own and trusting the franchisee. Hire a consultant or
Mhm.
speak to somebody. If you decide on something, go talk to a franchisee that's actually running a store right now.
That's a good word. Yeah.
Say, tell me about the franchisor,
Yeah.
because they're going to sell you on it.
Yeah.
Quiznos sold us on just an amazing bag of goods back in the 90s, and then they totally screwed us, and this is why they're out of business today. But they looked amazing back then when we actually bought in. So yeah, so I learned, go talk to, because if I had talked to a Quiznos franchisee back then, they would have told me all the games that the franchisor was playing with them.
Mhm.
But you don't find out until you actually sign up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm joined by my friend Peter Economies, who's a friend of mine from Rise Up Kings. And Peter has been in the franchise game for a while. He is the founder and CEO of Economies Hospitality. And I'm really excited to dive into it with him here today because I don't know anything about franchising. So, Peter, tell us a little bit of your story. Tell us about the company and how you all got started.
Good morning, Andrew. Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure. So, Economy Hospitality is a management company. We got started some years ago. If I have to back up, I started originally working with my uncle about 30 years ago in the retail, 35 years ago in the retail business, and he kind of taught me just the basics of business and retailing. So over the years, I started developing things myself, gas stations, convenience stores, and then got into the franchise business because at the time, franchising was very young, and Subway was basically the number one franchise. So that's what everybody had, and Subways were showing up in gas stations. So gas stations were utilizing space they had over in a corner to put Subways. Well, I decided to, as I built new gas stations, I was building the Subways into them and basically creating a one-stop shop. So I could stop there and I could get a sandwich, gas, cigarettes, lottery, coffee, whatever I needed. And it worked out very well. Well, what I found as I went along was the Subway sandwich shops were actually making more profit than the whole gas station was. And I had an opportunity to lease a space to a Dunkin' franchisee. And the Dunkin' franchisee was the local guy, owned the whole area. And I put a right of first refusal in his lease. Basically, if you sell, you have to come to me first. So he did. He retired. And so I bought the area. We got the store development agreements for the area. And 3 stores at that time, 3 Dunkins. And as I started to transition, I just started transitioning out of the gas station business into the franchise business because we saw it was much more lucrative, much easier to operate. Overhead was so much lower. And although we did well in the gas business for many years, as the gas companies started to merge, it became difficult to make money. Because, of course, with the mergers, they started cutting and cutting and cutting the way we were profiting. So we transitioned more into developing Dunkin' Donuts and Subways at the time. Subway was still a very good franchise. And then wherever the opportunity took us. So after so many years, maybe 2014, I sold the last Subway about 10 years ago and just concentrated on Dunkin'. So over the years, we've built probably over 45 Dunkin' restaurants. Some were partnered with other people, but we were always the operators. Others I owned wholly. Today, we own and operate 13 Dunkin' stores. Over the years, I've sold networks that we've built up. So I don't like to have that many balls in the air. I'd rather keep 10 to 15 good stores. So they're in different areas now. So Economy Hospitality is a management company, and all these stores are separate corporations. So Economy Hospitality is the upper management team. It basically handles all the maintenance, repairs, operations, and so on of the stores themselves.
So and you've been in and out of Subway, in and out of gas stations. Is it primarily just the Dunkin' Donuts franchises now? Do you have any other types of assets?
No, just the Dunkin' Donuts franchises.
Cool.
We dabbled in some pizza, some Chicago pizza for a little while, Rosati's, but it's just not a hitter in South Florida. And
Mm.
it was we did it for about 3 years, but we were spinning our wheels, and so
Yeah.
we decided to change it up a little bit and
What do
just
you, so you said, you mentioned a couple things, the way you spoke about like Subway, for instance, like that's a good franchise. So I know that there's tons of franchise opportunities out there. Like, what are you typically looking for to evaluate if this is a good franchise or not?
it's very simple. And I'll do consulting now. I do it free if people are looking for franchises and they have questions. Number one thing is, does a franchisor own any restaurants? Do they own and operate restaurants? Um, Subway had a great model. They were probably the best franchise model I've ever seen, and I've looked into dozens of them, and I've learned about many of them during consulting. So what I found is, number one thing: do they own stores and operate stores? Because now they're your partner.
Mm-hmm.
If they do not, how can they be living what they're pushing out on you?
Hmm.
And secondly, who owns it? Too many companies are owned by private equity funds now.
Hmm.
Private equity funds are in it for the money.
Yep.
And it's the focus on the franchisee, and the value of the franchisee is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Little Caesars is owned by the family. Little Caesars also, the family also owns 500 restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the guy I want. I want to own a Little Caesars because I
Interesting.
know nothing's coming down the pike unless it works, and they're going to have to live it. Plus,
Yeah.
the family still owns the company.
Yeah. Interesting. So, okay, so that kind of gives me a good perspective on it. What are some you're doing some consulting, so your ear's probably closer to the ground than mine would be. Like, what are some hot like franchise things right now? Like, what's up and coming, or kind of hot in that
That's
world
a
right now?
yeah, that's a very good question. Um, Coffee shops. Coffee is what, Seven Brew, Cali Coffee in our area, and then these are some of them are more localized in the South Central, but they are because what's great about Dunkin' is coffee. People will come every day and get coffee. It's one of the
Mm-hmm.
only franchise models that people will visit every day.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to a pizza place every single day. It's not their stop on the way to work.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee franchises are doing well. Only a
Mm-hmm.
few of them are, and and of course, coffee shops have to be placed on the way to work. Like, I got to
Mm-hmm.
catch you on that side of the road on the way to work, and that's not always possible. And costs of putting up buildings these days are expensive, and they have to have drive-throughs.
Yeah.
So those are the downsides. Otherwise, most other franchises, besides the big guys like Papa John's or Little Caesars or Pizza Hut, are mediocre
Mm-hmm.
anymore. The markets are saturated with, and even donut franchises now
Hmm.
are out there.
I mean, the only one I have immediate experience with is Chick-fil-A because I have a number of friends from church that have them. But I understand that's a pretty unique model where you don't actually own it, right? You're just an
Right.
operator of
Right.
sorts. So what is
Yep.
that? I mean, I guess different companies have different models of how they actually franchise their thing, but I would assume that's because they want to have a very tight grip on their brand, I suppose.
Chick-fil-A is unique in itself, and there's no other franchise model like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where they put up all the money, they build the buildings, they own them, and they bring these partners basically, get a percentage of the profits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's rare.
Mm-hmm.
So, and most of the people, we actually have somebody working for us. So it's been with Chick-fil-A for 12 years, or was with them for 12 years. Um, and basically most of those partners are raised up in the Chick-fil-A family. some of these people that become partners when they're 30 years old have worked there since they were 15,
Yep.
literally.
Yeah.
So you can't just basically go apply it. You really got to be in it. And that's who they're looking for. And they have an abundance of people like that.
If you
So
Go ahead.
most franchises are the basic model. You buy a franchise agreement, you build the place, and you operate it under their model, under
Yep.
their idea of making
Yep.
money. Yeah.
Now, like listening and hearing about a franchise, it sounds pretty intimidating to me. I imagine it takes all this capital and it's pretty time intensive. Like, is there a pretty high barrier to entry to actually get into franchising? Or if someone was starting out today, like what all would they need to get started?
You know, you're going to need a pretty good credit. You're going to need a little bit of money down, and you're going to need and some franchises are much more successful in some areas than others. So you really would never ever, I would never suggest just doing it on your own and trusting the franchisee. Hire a consultant or
Mm-hmm.
speak to somebody. And if you decide on something, go talk to a franchisee that's actually running a store right now.
That's a good word. Yeah.
Say, tell me about the franchisor,
Yeah.
because they're going to sell you on it. You know,
Yeah.
Quiznos sold us on just an amazing bag of goods back in the 90s, and then they totally screwed us, and this is why they're out of business today. So, but they looked amazing back then when
Mm.
we actually bought in.
Mm.
So yeah, so I learned, go talk to, because if I had talked to a Quiznos franchisee back then, they would have told me all the games that the franchisor was playing with them.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't find out until you actually sign up.
Mm.
So yeah, research. But again, if I went to, for instance, Las Vegas market with Dunkin' Donuts is not good. Florida market is great. It's
Mm.
just one of those things. You say, oh, well, Dunkin' does great for us here. Let's go to Kansas and build Dunkins. People in Kansas have no idea what Dunkin' is.
Mm.
They may have heard it. They saw a Super Bowl ad, but they've never been to one.
Yeah.
And I'm already buying coffee every day. Right. So now I got to take that customer from Scooters or Seven Brew or some other coffee company. I got to bring them to Dunkin'.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge in any
Yeah.
franchise. So if you're going to open up a pizza franchise, how many other pizza places are in town?
Yep.
What are you competing with? Because I have to look at it and say, well, I got to steal a customer.
Mm-hmm.
These are not new customers. I'm not selling a new product. So
Mm-hmm.
I got to steal that customer and they got to come to me
Mm.
instead of the guy they're going to now. Why are they going to do that?
Peter, what are some things that you are particularly proud of with your operation, and what are some sticking points you're having?
I'd say the number one thing I'm proud of is that we are a Christian based company. We're a faith based company. We don't hide that. We have signs in our stores, actually banners that say we walk by faith and not by sight, and then we actually have an explanation at the bottom that I've written out, so people that don't know what that means or understand the scripture. We play Christian music in the stores, and we strive to. That is our culture. So when you come into our store, that is the type of person you're talking to, and that's what I'm most proud of. And that translates into great customer service, clean stores, and great operations.
That's amazing. Yeah, I would imagine being a member on your team, and feeling cared for. And, I know that with our staff in the Philippines, it's, not uncommon for them to bounce around from like call centers and bad jobs and where they just get treated very poorly. So to come to
Mm-hmm.
a team where like we actually care about them, we give them bonuses, we know what their families' names are, like
Right.
that is night and day. That makes a huge difference in their lives. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, what are some things that you feel like are challenges right now that you're trying to overcome?
Um, as simple as it sounds, cost increases. Cost increases because we want to keep that value. Dunkin' is usually a value company, but we're just running up against so many cost increases
Yep.
in
Yeah.
products, payroll, insurance. It's just everywhere. And my customers are extremely important to me.
Yeah.
We are a Christian based company, but we are still open on Christmas Day. And people are like, well, why don't you close on Christmas Day? I said, it's one of the most important days of the year for our customers to come.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very busy. And I'll tell you,
Mm-hmm.
the customers come in because they want to bring coffee and donuts home for their family. It's Christmas morning.
Yeah.
And they come in and they thank us. Most of the customers come in, thank you for being open today.
Mm-hmm.
That is my number one focus. What is the customer experience?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? What are they seeing? What are they getting from us as a part of the community?
Mm-hmm. What's one item in Dunkin' Donuts that you're surprised sells so well?
That's a great question. Um, it seems like that happens every day. I'm like, how do we sell so many of those?
Yeah.
Um, some of the very sugary drinks, I think.
Yeah.
I maybe I'm just older. I just can't do it. But some of the new drinks, the shaken espresso, the Sabrina shaken espresso, I
Yeah.
was surprised at how that took off.
Yeah. Let's talk about AI for a second. How do you feel like it's shaping your industry, whether that's franchising or hospitality in general? What are some areas that you feel like it's being, potentially shaping your industry?
Yeah. So currently, we're not running up against AI too much because we are a in-person customer business. People come through the drive-through. We have millions of transactions a year. People coming inside and going in the drive-through and seeing us and seeing that interaction. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's very little in a store level that can be replaced. On the administrative level, we're seeing one of the things that probably with the Dunkin' franchise is you would call to make a comment, either a positive or a complaint or something, and those were call centers. Now they're not. They're AIs that are answering, and it's an AI system that's answering. So, and then it's automatic. It just forwards it automatically by email to us. And so, they've eliminated that call center because really, I guess they look at it, and I see it. You're calling and you're just calling to give a comment. Why does a live person have to answer?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it works. I don't hear anybody complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we use it just for prepare meeting slides or things like that in the business, but it has not really touched us a lot in the industry we're in.
Where do you feel
Yeah.
like it could be, impacting your industry? Like where do you like what's the first thing you feel like it's coming for?
Um, if I had to pick something, I would say in hiring and training.
Yeah.
Yeah, vetting new hires before they walk in the door, going out and pulling information about them and as much information as can be gathered to come
Yeah.
up with an algorithm, put into an algorithm to say, hey, this is a good fit for your business.
Yeah. Yeah, you
If
and I
I had
actually
to, a wish list.
we talked about that. It sounds like you kind of have to constantly be recruiting for your
Hmm.
businesses. I guess talk a little bit more about that. Like, is it challenging to keep the stores fully staffed, or is that pretty
It is,
systematized?
we have a lower turnover than most because of our Christian based culture.
Yeah,
People don't, the people that come and they stay, they like it and they stay.
yeah,
Most probably our biggest it's kids going off to college, it's people moving,
hmm
or something like that. So um that the biggest challenge with that is that yes, we are hiring constantly, but not a huge amount of people. And
hmm
I think what we're looking at today is today's culture. It's the kids that have grown up in the past 25 years. There is no staying at a company.
hmm
My two aunts, my whole family up in Massachusetts worked for General Electric back from the 1950s, 60s. And my aunts worked at General Electric for 43 years. They were executive secretaries. They had retirement, they had stock options. They loved working there. It was their career. They didn't go to college for it, but that's where they worked.
Yeah,
Those jobs aren't there anymore.
it doesn't happen.
So there's no job, there's no integrity to stay. Right. So that's our biggest challenge. So yes, to answer your question, yeah, we have to always be hiring.
I'm laughing because my wife basically says that that's me. So I've never stayed at a job for more than like 2 or 3 years at a time. But also, it's because I think that I was meant to start businesses. So
But you're speaking of you're not. But this is not a reflection on your character personally. This is a
right,
reflection on America.
right,
This is a reflection. Really, the whole world is like this
yeah,
because the companies do not. The large corporations don't care. They're looking for the cheapest way out.
hmm,
So they may look at you and say, Andrew, wow, you've been here 10 years and this and that. We can hire somebody a lot cheaper out of college today.
yeah,
Come do what you're doing. And especially, if the job, if they've streamlined things down to, what I would say poor customer service where you can't get anybody on the phone, you know, uh, they're going to replace you. So there's no longevity.
mm,
And so, the generation today knows that. They see
hmm,
it.
hmm.
Or the
Going,
companies merge and so on.
going back to something you said earlier, and I just kind of sunk in finally. So there's franchises out there that kind of push their concept, but they don't actually own any themselves. Huh.
That's correct.
Yeah. That would be a reason I would think, wow, they're telling me to do this, but they're not doing it themselves. That's interesting.
They don't have to live with their decisions.
Right.
Do
Right.
what I say, not what I do, kind
Right.
of. But they don't have
Right.
to live with the decisions, and a lot of times the decisions are not in the best interest of the franchisee.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Having been a financial advisor, I have had some clients that have pulled money from their or used their IRAs to start franchise. Thinking of one in particular who started a Yoga Six franchise, and I think he had a really really tough time. He felt kind of like, I think it's finally going okay, but initially like getting it off the ground was a beast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was of course cheering for him, like, yeah, let's do this, man. But I just like I felt like he wasn't getting the support that he really needed, and so I'd imagine that's a really scary thing. I mean, he took a big chunk out of his retirement,
Yes.
to do that, and
Yeah.
I would imagine that's probably their target audience. They're probably trying to go after people like that.
And while you're speaking of that, I'm thinking like AI probably could really assist
Yeah,
in selecting a franchise.
yeah,
I don't know. I'd be curious to see what comes back from Chat GPT if you say, well, I want to buy a Wits custard franchise.
yeah,
I'm using that because somebody came to me. I was consulting with some people a couple of weeks ago about that. Um, what comes back,
yeah,
right? And really because there are just a few parameters. One being, do they own franchises? How long's it been around? Who founded it? Um, has it been sold before?
hmm,
Has it been sold off already once?
that's
Or
good.
these are just basic questions, but boy, they speak volumes to where I want to put my money because you put your money in a Dunkin' Donuts in South Florida, and you're going to get a return.
Yeah,
Put the same amount of money into a Wits custard franchise or Parlor Donuts, and or maybe even more, and you're not going to get a return.
hmm,
So it's not necessarily any more cheaper. It used to be cheaper to do smaller franchises, but now the cost of equipment and construction is pretty much where most of the cost is.
yeah,
So if I'm constructing, let me construct something let me wait and try and get the Little Caesars or the Papa John's, or
yeah,
even buy one that's up and running.
yeah. Tell you what, I would franchise anything to do with pickleball. Goodness gracious.
Right. Today. Right.
Yeah.
Um,
That
yeah.
or at one of these indoor golf things. Those are popping up left and
Yeah, they're
right.
doing well because it's a great the golf things are great because they're an activity the family can go do. You
Yeah.
know, um, but they take up a lot of land. And you mean like Top Golf and these things?
No, indoor. One of these indoor
Oh,
like golf simulator places, but there's like
yeah.
two or three
Okay, the
within a
simulators.
couple miles of my house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was speaking of like Top Golf and these large outdoor places.
Yeah. Okay. You and I know each other from Rise Up Kings. You're a guy who's pretty passionate about the Lord and about his faith. What are some, things that Rise Up Kings has done in your life or being a part of it or how you run your business?
Rise Up Kings. I went through about 4 years ago in October. It was pretty new then, but I saw it as a springboard for my faith. I really, it's like I leaped forward in what I wanted to do. And I'll tell you, that is where our Christian culture in the company was born.
Hmm.
I came back from Rise Up Kings, and I just had this, like a lot of men, this urge to disciple people, to spread this word.
Hmm.
And it didn't take very long before God put it on my heart. And he said, you have 200 employees in front of you every day. You don't have to go any farther. And these are frontline quick service restaurant workers.
Yeah.
They're not college graduates. They don't have their life together.
Yeah.
They could all use some attention, if you will.
Yeah. Amen.
So, and that was probably the big. And I've basically created this whole culture around that, and that was born from Rise Up Kings.
Yeah. I think statistically speaking, most people, if they do find faith, happens either in high school or in college. So I love that vision and mission. I mean, it's a very, fertile time for people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, completely shifted how I operate. And in fact, one of the things for me that's really changed is just thinking I am in ministry. This is not business or ministry. It's like, this is a ministry.
Yeah.
And putting food on the table is probably one of the most impactful things you can do for somebody, right? So actually, one of my buddies, shout out Steven Sorensen, he says, we are an evangelism and discipleship ministry, but credit card processing funds our mission. And I was like, that is a really good way to say that. I love that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, good
Yeah,
word.
that's great. It can be that with any business.
Yeah.
And we do see it that way. We tithe to our church from all our businesses, and besides personally. But yeah, every month we tithe to the church from whatever the businesses make. Because we see it as building the kingdom, and we have a great church that puts it to great use.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to share with the audience?
No, I really appreciate the time, and I just do encourage people that there is nothing that you can do in your life that you shouldn't put God first.
Amen.
Nothing comes before God. And in this world, there's so many distractions. It's hitting us every single day.
Yeah.
And I don't even need to mention social media or the news, but it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't have social media, and I don't watch the news, and it's still everywhere. So let me be the testimony that doesn't solve your problem. The problem has to change in your heart. It's not going to change because you deleted Facebook and Instagram.
That's a good word. Peter, if people want to learn more about who you are and what you do, where can they go?
Absolutely. They can contact me. They can email me at economy with a K, EKONOMY @yahoo.com.
All right. Well,
happy to help.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Don't go anywhere because I want to chop it up with you, but thanks for coming on the podcast.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.